being here.
Yeah,
And she sent
yeah,
the,
she sent the,
she sent the minutes and we all got those. So let's see. If you, so call to order the meeting and it's now 5:05. Can I hear, in attendance is Bill Dwyer, myself, Joyce Chungalo, Molly Keegan, and John Silvestro. Absent is Mary Carney, Sally Lanowski, and David Phil,
John L.
and John Allen. Could I get approval of the minutes? She did send them for December and, no, yes.
yep, December and
Yeah, I'll make a
January.
motion to approve both sets of minutes.
Something.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
And there
Oh,
is one correction. I did not make the last meeting.
Yes, I think I said that somewhere. Okay,
I had logged in, but before you
Yeah.
started, I got, you all froze. So I don't know what the problem is. in the building.
Return the heat down.
okay, so Bill.
That one correction.
Bill absent, last meeting. And we are a hybrid meeting. I don't see anybody else on there, so do we need to still do a roll call vote? Is everything okay to just do an aye?
If we're all here, we can just.
We're all
do it.
here,
Yep.
okay, so all in favor of approval of the minutes? Aye,
Aye.
thank you. So we had some review of previous materials. I was gonna have John Allen speak he had a robust, I guess, discussion with the selectmen from the town of South Hadley. So I guess that's on the agenda for the next time, if we can get John to come in.
So they've had the new charter for a few years now?
I believe so, yes. Yeah, so he had a lot of information, so we're kind of at a loss there of what he had to say to that board member. Spoke with Melvin and Pat, the beginning of this week, or last week, just to go over what they want a list of boards elected and versus appointed, and that was requested by them.
And I don't know if you saw Bill's suggestions today, but I think you're right that,
The service delivery plan was updated this fall by an intern from UMass.
Okay,
The latest version is not on the town website yet.
but it will be soon.
It should be soon. I think it's the 2019 version that's on the website, but it breaks it down by every department, whether they're elected, appointed, what their sources of authority are.
okay, where do we get that?
So I have it in board docs, right, because it was
Okay.
part of our material.
Okay,
But I'm gonna ask Jennifer to see if she can post that tomorrow, so
okay,
that everybody can access that.
Right.
okay.
So that would be off the
Okay.
select board page on hadleyma.org.
Could you send it to us, committee members?
Sure.
Okay, that would be good. Thanks, Bill.
How does that relate to this sheet listing the different boards?
That was what, I guess that's the bylaw. So someone had asked for that, bylaws for any reference to current board
okay.
responsibilities.
Yeah.
That was 4.3.
Mhm.
So that's just where to find it.
Okay,
And that's not comprehensive. For example, the planning board is created by statute.
Mhm.
We have statutory authority. We don't really have bylaws at the moment, although we're working on a set of bylaws, but that's just internal, how you run the board.
Mhm.
Not creating the authority for the board.
Mhm.
And likewise, the ZBA, and again, that's all important. That's all in the service delivery plan.
Mhm.
Is that this Board of Trustees of Affordable Housing Trust, does that come under planning board too, Bill?
No, that's a separate entity appointed by the select board.
Okay,
Yeah, it happens that currently the statute requires there be at least one select board member and one planning board member. And then the other 5 can be whoever. As it happens, the because the planning board had been working with affordable housing so deeply, we all volunteered to be the initial trustees
Okay,
with, Molly and David at the time, and then you took a hiatus.
Oh, no, it was actually just one select board member, so
I
David
guess it was
was the
David at
initial.
the time, yes.
And then he came off the select board and then I went
Well,
on,
yeah.
and then I got appointed.
But that is appointed by the select board.
okay.
Mhm.
So
And,
that,
and I know that Jennifer has a very detailed list of
Boards and committees.
all boards and committees.
Mhm.
Which ones are appointed by the select board, because she has to sort of monitor the appointment and the reappointment.
I'll ask her for that too.
and then the Collins Center, we asked at the last meeting about department heads, to ask the Collins Center to send us a survey, so with just a few questions that we could send to, department heads, and so that went out to everybody the other day. Mike had sent it to everybody.
Mhm.
And I have been getting back some
Okay.
things, so I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to
Compile it.
compile it. So I'll have to maybe send them to Jennifer and have her compile it, or should I send it to you? What do you want me to do?
You see how this is going?
This is your fault.
Yeah.
I don't have a printer and things at home, so that's my
It's always
problem.
hard to compile open-ended questions.
Well, what
Yeah.
I've done in the past is just taken, like on performance reviews and things like that, when people have comments.
Mhm.
And so whether it's in a Word document or Excel, I can kind of just either cut and paste or retype, you know. And then we can just have a summary, leave names off, unless, I don't know how the survey was done.
Yeah, I think it was
just
just sent to them with all of these questions.
I think you may get some references back to the service delivery plan to.
Yeah,
Okay,
that makes sense, because they went.
because
they
that
were
was already
participating.
done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, which is fine.
And the intern did a very thorough job. And was following up with boards to,
Well, that would be good to see because I didn't even know that had been done.
Mhm.
So, that's interesting. And we could compile it with those that are sending them back to us. Mike sent one back from him and a few other people did too. Um,
Okay, so we'll compile responses.
because that's a lot that are gonna be sending back responses if they do, and I'm hoping if you're saying that it's already on the service delivery plan, they'll say, see the delivery service plan, that would be,
Or they may add some color that didn't make it into it, which would be
Mhm.
interesting too.
Do the department heads have a deadline for submitting the responses or?
I don't think we gave them a deadline, just so that we
So-
might
So how many surveys were sent out or how many
talk
different
to everybody
departments?
that's on a board. And everybody that's elected or appointed got one.
Oh, okay.
You
So
sure of that?
there could be more than one response for a particular department. Is that right?
It was soliciting input from several sources, including town department heads. The information will be considered in the committee. Maybe it's only going to be
I think this only went to the department heads because
Okay.
I haven't had any requests come to me, and I should have gotten one
okay.
if they did for 2 committees, right?
Okay, so
Yeah.
that means that no more than only one response would be received from each department.
Right.
Yeah.
And in terms of department heads, I don't know the exact count, but when there's a department head meeting, they basically fill this whole
No?
table, so I don't know, 20, 25, something like that.
Okay.
Oh.
All right, so we'll wait to see with them coming back in.
So for example, Mike Mason would be considered a department head for police.
Correct.
Yep. Mhm.
Let's see who I did get. I do have one. It's sitting in my. Oh, so. I know when I'm attaching the service delivery plan. That was updated earlier this month for review. I believe you had been sent the rough draft already. So Jennifer sent that to Melvin,
Oh,
the
okay,
service delivery plan.
all right.
Okay, so then I can chat to him about that. I don't have it. Well, yes, I do, and then it's here. Okay, so I can chat with him about that.
But it'd still be good to get it on the website, so the rest of the committee can easily access
Yeah.
it too.
So Mike did it, conservation responded, Latham responded.
Library, okay, yeah.
Mhm. Did so far,
When you say conservation, assuming that was Kayla?
yes,
So
yes, it was.
I suppose we could have her reply on behalf of the planning board too, and the ZBA, and
Yeah.
keep CPA.
Just keep going. Maybe she is. Okay, so there are some responses back anyway, so.
Mhm.
Okay, so, that was about the gist of the, unless you needed to talk about any previous materials that we had, did anybody have anything that they wanted to bring up about that we reviewed? I think Mike was pretty explicit with his, responses, last time. They all made sense to me since I had been on the board, but for those that hadn't been on the
Yeah.
board, did that pretty much
Yeah.
clarify a lot of,
Yeah.
other answers for you?
I had meant to, watch it, but I haven't had a chance.
Did you get one? Did you get the responses from Mike?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they were pretty well.
I did. I just didn't see the personal visit.
Mhm.
That was the meeting I couldn't get into.
Okay.
And I think one of the questions we had that was really for the Collins Center is there are certain things that are statutory, right?
Yeah.
So it's still not clear to me what positions are, I'm sorry, yeah, either positions or committees.
And we did talk about
Required by
that,
law.
Melvin and Pat
Mhm.
and I, on our meeting the other day about, what actually would you want to consider since we, did it with the treasurer and the collector.
Yeah, the clerk would be.
So the clerk is one,
Mhm.
and what other one, that was elected would you not want to be elected anymore?
Right.
I mean, so those were the questions that we were talking about.
Mhm.
So would it be wherever a professional credential would help the person do the job better?
Mhm.
Correct.
Kind of,
Mhm.
Well, when somebody
Requirement.
leaves, it's kind of hard if it's an elected position, and Bill, you have that same problem when someone leaves. Are you going to get a qualified person to take the place of the person that's going off the board?
Mhm.
So that's.
Sometimes, yes.
Sometimes no. But I know that Mr. DeGrodnik is running again and has already turned in his papers. He wasn't going to, but he is.
I don't know if Matt Waldrop will be taking out papers. He's the filling in until the next
For the 1
election.
year, yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right, so we'll be up for somebody else applying for
1
that.
year.
So there's a 1-year term and a 5-year term
Okay,
that are open this year.
so, I mean, that's the kind of thing, on a board that is yours, that you have such a responsibility of doing the job that you do and making sure that people are aware of what they need to do. So it's hard that just, and I don't want to be a negative person, but sometimes people just want to run because they want to participate. But certain boards require some type of knowledge.
And a level of effort,
Yeah,
right? I mean, the planning board's definitely a working
Mhm.
board.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that's what it is, or you got the Park and Rec Commission.
Mhm.
That's an elected board.
Mhm.
Library trustees are an elected board. So are those some things that we want to continue that way or not to continue that way? I guess
Mhm.
that's what they're asking us is, as a town, do you want to make some of these boards not you want them to be appointed, or you still want to go with elected
Mhm.
assessors,
Yeah, assessors, Board of Health,
that type of thing.
right? The
So,
Board of Health's
So-
another one we've talked in the
Board of
past
Health,
about.
yeah,
We're fortunate, again, we have, a doctor,
Mhm.
nurse with people with
Nurse.
certain credentialing on there now,
yeah,
but
we
they
didn't
just happen
always.
to have run.
But they've also, because they're not knowledgeable with Title V.
Right.
Or inspections.
Mhm.
I mean, they have other health matters that they're aware of,
Mhm.
but not necessarily what the responsibilities are necessarily with the inspections and things like that, or the Title V. So they had to hire somebody. And that was my question, and I couldn't remember, did that person have to come to us for hiring, or it was their hire, right? Because they're an elected board, so they just hired that person, or did they bring that person to the select board?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't
I thought-
remember.
I thought that they hired Ben, I mean, then they he definitely came to the select board, but I think it was more of a joint.
I think my recollection is that they had to work with the select board because they needed to fund the position.
Right, because the Board of Health doesn't really have a budget per se.
Right, they did not at the time.
Yeah.
So they definitely would have consulted with the select board about their intent to hire someone.
Right.
I don't think they necessarily
Had to have our approval,
had to have your approval for Ben
Right,
versus
versus somebody else,
someone
right?
else.
yeah, and so,
Yeah.
But they needed your approval to
Mhm.
fund.
and you can say the same thing for the Park and Rec.
Mhm.
The person that they've hired to be in the office and basically the point person.
Mhm.
They hired them also.
So.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to list here. So the appointed, apart from select board and school committee, which seem to be elected positions in most communities. We have assessors, board of health, planning board, park and rec, library trustees.
Mhm. So actually, I happen to have the seats that are up for election, so this would tell us who's,
Okay.
okay.
Constable.
So
Constable.
the elected,
Constable elected.
You're not anymore.
not the
Oh, no.
board,
Here
so
at
we made,
that town
Oh,
meeting,
yeah,
the
yeah.
fall town meeting.
but the moderator,
Okay.
and so again, in some towns, that's handled differently.
Mhm.
Um, assessor, we talked about Board of Health, Planning Board, School Committee. Oliver Smith will, which is kind of unique. The town clerk, library trustees, park commission, housing authority, that's the other one.
Oh,
Mhm.
housing authority, park and rec, library. What else did you say?
You've got,
Oliver Smith.
Oliver Smith,
Yeah, moderator, assessor, Oliver Smith, town clerk, housing authority, park and rec. Library.
well, and the town clerk, down there, right?
Town clerk, yeah.
Yeah, and then like Bill said, the planning board and school committee. But then select board, obviously.
So by the time we finish up our work with a recommendation for a new charter, we would have to address the issue of elected versus appointed or not. Is that a requirement?
I think we want to make a recommendation
yeah.
one way or the other,
Right.
either to say,
Mhm.
we're not gonna,
Right.
we're not going to address it, or it should be addressed. And I think, I think feedback from the employees who report to these elected boards would be helpful.
Mhm.
I mean, does Amy have any challenges with the fact that she's got a rotational park and rec commission? I'm pretty sure she doesn't right now, but again, in theory, again, you never know who's gonna be in those seats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
And do they actually have to be elected? Or not, I guess, that's the bottom line.
Well, there's some little backwaters too, that either the select board or the planning board can be the park commissioners.
Right, that's right, just like we're the sewer commissioners or water commissioners.
Water, sewer, police, fire.
But we could be park commissioners, we wouldn't be park and recreation, so it's just one of
Oh, that's
those.
interesting.
Oh, so your umbrella would include those?
Could include parks,
Okay, yes, because you do oversee some of the things that go there.
the open space,
What's about the CPA? They're appointed
they are.
and they're appointed by the moderator, correct?
No, that's the finance committee.
Oh, the finance committee does the CPA.
No, the finance committee, the
Moderator.
select board appoints CPA.
Yeah.
Moderator appoints finance committee. Although in some
Some
towns, it may be South Hadley, but I think it's West Hampton or Southampton, the finance committee is an elected position and people run for it.
Which is also interesting because again, you'd want a certain skill
The
set.
finance committee appoints CPA.
No, select board appoints CPA.
And CPA's composition, much like the Affordable Housing Trust is defined. You know,
So
and
select,
applied somewhere.
select board CPA. I
Select
thought
board
the
is
moderator, he appoints the
finance.
finance.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right, so the Community Preservation Committee is governed by bylaw chapter 49. And that says that there would be a member from the select board gets 2 appointments.
Mhm.
And then it's somebody from the planning board, you know.
And someone from the
Historical
conservation commission and some people, some have large slots.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm curious about too, is if we looked at those committees. Again, I'm not suggesting we make change just for the sake of changing something.
Yeah.
But if we want to talk about some of these committees that are currently elected, it would be helpful for me anyway, to hear from the Collins Center about, you know, kind of pros and cons that they may be familiar with. If that's something they could,
Pros and cons for what?
elected versus appointed committees. So if we gave them a list of the ones we have now that are elected,
Mhm.
just asking, you know, preponderance of other towns, what are they doing?
Okay.
And if, just as an example, they decided that the Board of Health was going to be appointed, not elected, you know, why? You know, what are you giving up versus potentially gaining by changing that?
Do we still have cases where members of certain committees who were elected receive health insurance? It used to be that way.
Right,
Yeah.
town meeting, eliminated that many years ago. However, there was some grandfathering.
That could be a cross game.
Grandfathered, correct. Assessors are grandfathered.
I believe so.
I think you're the only two. Assessors and planning board.
I think we may be down to one individual at this point, maybe 2, I think 1 who's still on that plan. But anybody new coming on?
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so I will present that to them after I send them the list. So. Help Jennifer send me the list and I can send it to Collins and then ask them to, give us the pros and cons on that.
Mhm.
I was thinking Mary said she wasn't gonna be here and wouldn't be taking the minutes, so what?
I'm kind of taking,
Are you?
But Bill and I can compare notes,
Oh.
we're both jotting things down here.
Okay, That would be
Don't
great.
worry, Joyce, we're just like a blanket wrapped around you.
God. I'm awful cold. Okay. I can take your temperature and blood pressure anytime. If you need CPR, I can do that too, so I'm on the other end of the spectrum here. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions, Bill, tonight, or what we need Collins to do, or we can get this to them?
Yeah, I think the one impression I have is that I think they're trying to get to know Hadley.
Mhm.
I don't think they really understand Hadley yet.
Mhm.
This hopefully will be some help for them. And I think sometimes the way they've been talking to us, I almost get the feeling they think we don't understand Hadley.
Yeah.
That's true.
There's that.
My case is true.
And obviously there are levels, but you know, John, you've been going to town meeting, you've been
Yeah.
involved
Yeah,
for what, 40 years?
38, but I'm a newcomer.
Uh,
I'm not a local Guilford too, you know, I married one.
So there's a lot of stuff here that part of it is just knowing where to look for it,
Right.
knowing it's there.
Well, it's good to know, like you said, which I didn't know, that a service delivery plan was done this summer.
Mhm.
So that's good. That's gonna be a help too, that we can send to them.
Yeah, and I had completely forgotten that there was a prior version of it. But then the intern emailed me a couple of times about getting an update, so
Mhm.
that reminded me that, oh yeah, we have it, and
Mhm.
so I put in our statutory authority and what we do, and the others have too. I think she put a pretty standard format in.
Mhm.
I remember, you should too, because you were on the board back then. It all came about, David Nixon was on that small town, the task force.
Yep.
That, all the small town administrators get together and they have their own meetings, like quarterly or something like that.
Mhm.
And he brought it back as a best practice, and he made it one of his, when he came to us to set his goals for a particular year,
Mhm.
whatever, 2015 or something like that.
Mhm.
He said that he had talked to other administrators who found it very helpful to have it, but said, once it's created, we need to keep it up to date.
Mhm.
So,
I think, as I remember it, there a lot of the impetus was when we were going up for the bond rating,
yes,
that David wanted to have as many boxes checked
Mhm.
as he could get. So Linda was working with him on updating various policies, some financial, some
Mhm.
more general.
that was remember the quarterly trend analysis that we used to do?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
in large part because when we did the first bond rating way back when,
Yeah. We got it all the way up to triple rating.
yeah,
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 way.
Yeah.
Way.
That's great.
but in large part because of those,
Mhm.
like those saying,
Yeah.
make sure that those were created, so.
Mhm.
Yep, he had all sorts of policies in place.
I told you he never slept.
Yeah.
He never really did, you know, he always, and he was always finding a way that, and he had talked about a long time ago about charter.
Oh, yeah,
That was a long time ago that he had mentioned that, so
Mhm.
it's always been on the tip there, but never gone anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, but we'll see.
By the way, as an aside, I know several people who got PhDs in anthropology at UMass, and they said the greatest graduate teaching assistant was David Nixon.
oh, really?
Really?
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can believe that, yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, he was very well respected by all the other town administrators and managers, you know. And if you listen to him speak in his good days, you know, before he didn't feel well, he really could put out a good speech. You know, he did it over in Amherst at their,
Yeah, legislative breakfast.
legislative breakfast and things like that, yeah.
Good.
So, all right, then I guess we got our marching orders for the next meeting. My question is, how about going to once a month? Anybody have any objections to that? Not hearing any?
No,
So what are you thinking, like
What would be good for everybody? So February, we're not in February yet, but we're
Do you want to stick with Thursdays, say something?
right,
Yeah.
Thursdays, you want to do like the first Thursday or the,
do you want to do that, or do you want to do, because you have a meeting that week already?
third
and so
Thursdays,
just, so,
Huh?
first and third.
first and third.
First,
Like
Just a
third,
coincidence that this
Before-
year, last week was the third.
how about the second?
Second Thursday,
Second Thursday, then people don't have really, I don't know what your other agendas are, but I think that might work a little bit
What's the
better
actual
for
date?
people.
What's the actual?
13th
13th,
13.
would be the next
Yeah.
one.
let's do that. Instead of trying to squeeze in
Yep.
two and not have them as productive as we want to be, so
Okay, so second
it's 13th,
Thursday of the month.
yeah.
You know, the only wild card might be the availability of
This room,
of this room and of the people who aren't here.
okay,
Yeah.
Right,
all right, well, we can adjust
You
that,
can propose it.
Yeah.
You know, just send an email around proposing a change.
yeah, I can do that too.
Did we have any intent of presenting any information to the annual town meeting about what we're doing? Or-
I don't think we're gonna do it at town meeting. I
Yeah.
think they wanted to, according to the program that they sent us, they talked about us doing an open forum at some
Oh,
point.
okay, yeah.
But I don't really have anything that would be beneficial for an open forum at this point.
no, I
I
mean,
agree.
depending what we do at town meeting, if we decide to do any like opening remarks or anything for people there, I mean, if we want to talk about anything that's underway, we could add it to the list.
Mhm.
You know, some people are
Yeah.
aware that it's happening.
Yeah,
We haven't even gotten that far yet.
Right.
We have bigger fish to fry before we get
And,
to that.
and the agendas for town meeting have gotten so large that,
Oh, yeah.
informational,
Yeah.
informational things really, you know, we have to get to some business things.
Nobody listens.
Right, unless it's pertinent to the
you know,
business
I
that we
mean,
want
do
people to
people,
vote
are
on.
you still finding it beneficial? You know, I never liked it, but when you do the free,
The forms,
the forms, I
and we
mean,
still,
I can take it or leave it.
yeah, same here.
yeah, I mean, and,
I think you got the same ones that come to it all the time, basically.
but with Hadley Media now, though, the interesting thing is to go back and look at it on YouTube after the fact, and then you'll see there were 69 views or 40, because people watch after the fact.
You want numbers now?
Hmm?
You want numbers now? I can give you numbers now.
Sure.
Let's see.
It's probably two.
There might be two.
Just hoping to win the Emmy Award.
We're never getting any work. The form of government.
So,
Oh, not the form of government. We were talking about the public, the forum in advance of the town meeting.
Oh, right. The
Yeah.
last time we did that, when it was a separate thing, you only had like 1 or 2 live viewers.
Right, yeah, live viewers, but then, like I say, if you go afterwards, sometimes people will take a look.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
interesting because one of the, there is a report about the total number of views over time.
I do give that report every year. Yep,
And it shows up in YouTube, it sorts
it does.
by most popular, so you can,
That's
and
interesting.
it's eclectic, it's
Yeah.
often the school committee that gets the most.
Oh.
No, basketball is now getting the most.
Oh,
No,
okay.
that makes a
Well, you
lot of
weren't doing
sense, yeah.
basketball last time I checked.
Yeah.
Well, we've been doing basketball since I got here, so.
But definitely, I mean, there's no question that the viewership, if that's the right word, is going up and up relative to
YouTube.
And that,
engagement.
that was something that they could not keep track of under charter as far as. I know.
Right,
Mhm.
right,
But, there was no tracking of who was watching it live and
Mhm.
who was watching it
After.
when it got
Mhm.
rerun at some point.
Mhm.
Okay,
All
all right,
right,
so we'll check on that then.
so February 13th will be
Yeah.
our next meeting at 5. And I'll send out an email to everybody else if that's solution for them.
Okay,
While we're on the topic. If we go down to my line graph,
Oh,
the
that's great.
blue is all the cable subscribers, and the red is all the YouTube subscribers.
yeah,
I only started tracking from 2018 only
Yeah.
because that's the first full year.
Mhm.
But as you can see, it's going very sharply up, where this is going gradually down.
yeah.
Hmm.
Fascinating. Oh, that's neat information to see. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
The Nielsen ratings.
Nielsen ratings, right?
It's interesting, the only reason that we still subscribe to cable per se is that we get our internet through Charter. And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
basic cable package comes with it,
Mhm.
so,
I think my son dropped cable, but he keeps the internet.
Mhm.
He just uses, he's got one of those smart TVs. I don't have a smart TV. I'm not so smart.
Welcome to a friend.
Motion to adjourn. Second,
second,
all in favor?
I.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.